2024, and we keep saying it's the most important election of our time, I think it might be, again, the most. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, well, so I have unconventional thoughts.
Of course. That's why let's have a conversation.
Yeah. So, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And Rashad is a runaway hit on TYT. Yes. Everybody check out Indisputable. Rashad Ritchie is as good a host as you could find on the planet.
Absolutely.
So super proud to have him as part of our team. So now, yes, I have said on several occasions this election is not that important. And people freaked out. I don't mean about this one. I mean in different elections. Like in 96, Clinton-Dole, and I could get into those old controversies. Clinton-Dole, nearly identical. Okay? Not at all important, let alone the most important election of our lifetime.
Facts.
Okay, now this one's more controversial. Obama-Romney, their policies weren't that different. Okay, so now their personalities are different. Of course, Democrats, Republicans, but like most important election of our life, no way. Okay, this one, definitely the most important election. And why is it even more important than the other two Trump elections? Because this time around, Trump already tried a coup. I mean, this is the only election we've ever had in America where one of the candidates tried to overthrow our democracy. And it's not hyperbole. That's the reason I give you the framing on Obama, Romney, Clinton, Dole is because I'm not the guy who buys into hyperbole. I'm the guy on the opposite side going, "It's guys, come on. They're both corporate Democrat, corporate Republican. It ain't that different, right?" But this is totally, utter different ball game. So, and it's not just January 6th where they broke into the Capitol. That they weren't going to hold the building or anything like that, right? Their attempt was to delay proceedings so that the Republicans could kick it back to the states where they had the fake electors ready to go. That is a legitimate coup attempt. A coup attempt. And we're letting that sumbitch run again. And right now he's leading. He's leading. Everybody's hair should be on fire. And I don't think it is at all. I think the Democrats are doing a terrible job of countering him. Terrible. Okay. And I'll say something further. You got to pull Biden, and you have to pull him right now. You got to pull him.
Wait. Pause, Grandpa. Cenk, wait a minute. Now you're going too far. I was with you all the way to the book. So pull him. Who's going to pull him? Who's going to check him, boo?
So first, let me tell you why, and then I'll tell you who should do it. Okay. So number one, half the polls he's polling in the 30s. An incumbent never wins if they're under 50. Has never happened when they're under 40. So we have no idea, like we're getting diluted in the same way MAGA is. We're in our own bubble. You like Biden, God bless your heart. He's a lovely guy overall. I don't love some of his politics, but he's a good person. But that is irrelevant. If you're in the 30s, you're going to lose, especially if you're an incumbent. He beat Trump by 4.5 points in the last election in the popular vote, and then won the Electoral College by the skin of his teeth, 44,000 votes in 3 swing states. If you're barely winning, that you're playing 50-50, you're playing dice with our democracy at a 4.5 point lead. Biden is now currently trailing Trump by 1. He's got to make up 5.5 points to even have a shot at winning the Electoral College. People are not getting how deep this trouble is. So now who's going to do it? Unfortunately, I think the Democratic Party leadership is authoritarian, and I think everybody bows their head to the leader. I think that's a Republican way of doing things, and it drives me crazy. So
we talking about Jamie Harrison?
No. So
who's the leader? Nancy Pelosi?
No, the leader is Joe Biden. And so my point is,
the president is always the leader.
Yeah.
Is he?
If they're
okay, so we'll get into it in a second. But my point is, at this point, because of the authoritarian nature of the Democratic Party, and I wish it weren't the case, the guy who's got to really make the decision is Biden. And right now he's saying, well, it's the most important election of our lifetimes, and America might not exist, but I'm an egomaniac. So even though I'm polling in the 30s, I'm going to stay in the race, and I'm going to risk democracy for my ego because I'm deeply selfish. I'm trailing a moron.
All right. I don't disagree with, because I thought, once he won, because I've said this, Steve, I've said it on many shows, he should have said, okay, I'm only going to run one term. I ran because I was the one that could beat him.
He did say that.
Right. So now I'm going to tap out.
Yes.
And that's what should have happened, but it didn't happen. So now we have a binary choice, because he said he's running again. He's not tapping. So I don't feel like we have a choice. Kevin, then to get behind him. And all of the negative things that we say will just make it 20% popular.
Hypothetically,
I don't-
Cenk, if that happened, who?
Oh, so then everybody says who, like, because, oh my God, like, it's so hard. No, guys, if we say that the Democratic Party doesn't have a single soul that could beat a moron like Donald Trump, that actually is at 60% unpopular, that means the Democratic Party is a wasteland.
Who would you like to see?
So, first of all, let me make it super simple for you. Pick any Democratic governor out of a hat. I don't care who it is. Just pick one. It doesn't have to be
Whitman,
progressive. I'm
Newsom.
a progressive,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be progressive. Just pick one out of a hat, and they're going to have a huge lead on Trump. Trump will lose to everyone but Biden. Right? But Biden.
So Kamala Harris?
Well, he
Look,
said governor out of a hat.
I know,
Yeah.
I heard what he said.
Yeah.
But she's the vice president, and
yeah,
if we're
I got
talking
you.
about secession.
So you're talking about getting rid of that ticket completely.
Get rid of the ticket. Like Kamala Harris is also unfortunately more unpopular than Biden. I wish it weren't the case. I wish, but our wishing isn't going to change facts.
Okay.
The facts are they're
well,
deeply
polls,
unpopular.
I often say, historically polls are for strippers, and I was right because the polls didn't have Trump winning, and I was telling everyone during that election cycle, we need to do a party of Lincoln. Shout out to the Project Lincoln. Y'all stole the idea. It's okay. It's all right. Because I'm like, if all of us voted and registered as Republican in these states, we could affect the primary, which is where you show up in these closed primary states. You show up, elect someone that can't beat Hillary because the Supreme Court is on the table. This is what we're voting for, not super predator. We're voting for the Supreme Court. And then we make sure that Trump doesn't, because if he gets the nomination, he's going to win, because I understand this country. I'm on the radio every day. You are as well out there in the streets. So you know what people are saying and thinking. So it's not about the polls, because most of us don't answer polls anyway. It's about the people. And I feel like you're right. And I hate that you're right. And 866-801-8255. But, we can do more. I think maybe we can, I don't know. What the hell?
I have
You just
questions
made
for
me
Cenk.
like,
Are we
oh my
taking a
God.
break? I can
No,
ask a question
you
now.
can do whatever you like, Kevin Powell.
So what you're talking about is unprecedented in American history. There's never been a time, really, where we've said, okay, the incumbent president of the United States, you're just going to step aside, and the vice president, and we're going to have a new ticket. You do realize that.
It's not unprecedented. Lyndon Johnson did it.
Lyndon Johnson stepped aside.
Yeah, and
You're
it
right.
wasn't his vice president. And by the way, I blame everyone, including my side. Bernie should have run against him. Ro Khanna should have run against him. Progressives should have run against him. I don't know why in the world they bowed their head. That's not what progressives are supposed to do. We should have driven this guy out of the race already. I'm trying right now. I'm doing a petition. Get 1 million votes on it.
I don't disagree with you.
Signatures on it. Get him out of the race. TYT.com/dropout.
I don't disagree with you, but we're in New York. We're talking about the middle of the country in the South. And the reason why we know why Biden won in 2020, because the middle of the country really determines our presidential election. You do agree with that?
Well, the swing states do, yeah. So some are, Wisconsin, obviously, but Arizona's in the west and Georgia's in the east. But yeah, I hear you, definitely. Not New York.
So, Lyndon Johnson stepped aside. We know that, 68 election. But he also was in the midst of a very unpopular war. He didn't really step aside because he had an opponent. We're talking about now something very different.
No, actually, Eugene McCarthy ran and beat him in the first primary.
In March of 68.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that.
And he panicked, and he realized he was going to lose, and that's why he dropped out. See, I think...
But we don't know if he would have lost or not, is what I'm saying. He dropped out because he was fiercely unpopular.
Yeah, and that's what a person who is unselfish does. That's what a leader does. Lyndon Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act.
I'm very well aware of it. I benefited from it.
Of course you are. Of course, right? So my point is, the guy's a hero. So yeah, he was terrible on Vietnam. He was not perfect on everything, right? But he passed a lot of things to help the poor and the middle class. He passed Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, that made all the difference. And when push came to shove, he put his ego aside and he said, I think I'm going to lose, so I'm going to get out of the race. That's exactly what Biden should have done and should still do. It's not too late. 3 months from now, it'll be too late.
It could be argued Lyndon Johnson getting out of the race is why Nixon ended up winning the election
I was
in
bring
68.
that up.
What's your
I
response to
don't
that?
agree with that at all. So like in the old way of thinking is primaries hurt, right? So Ted Kennedy did a primary against Jimmy Carter, and then Carter was weakened and Reagan won. That's the conventionalism left over from literally 43 years ago, okay? So now the reality is in the last couple of elections, what happened? So last time the Democrats had a superheated primary, Bernie versus Biden, 27 people in, superheated, damaging each other theoretically, right? Oh my God, we're going to get lower. No, we won. And in 2016, the Republicans had 17 people in the race ripping each other's throats out, talking about the size of their crotches. I mean, just the most vicious primary you've ever seen. They won.
Right.
Primaries help. They don't hurt anymore. You want to know why? Giant difference between 45 years ago and today. Now, Everything is about media. You have to get media. And the bigger your primary is, the more media you attract to your side and the more you make your case. So when the Republicans have all those debates, even though they're slightly disagreeing with each other, what they're doing is putting out a unified message overall going, Republicans are right, corporations are right, the average man should be screwed over, and they're putting that propaganda out there. We're not countering with any debates. And when we don't counter with any debates, and what happened in 2016? They barely had any debates between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. We didn't get our message out. You need super strong primaries to drive media to your side. The difference between Bernie and Biden is actually not that big compared to the difference between Biden and Trump or Bernie and Trump, right? So get your message out in a strong primary. My dream right now is, and I don't agree with a lot of these politicians. I'm on the progressive side. But get me Gavin Newsom in there. Get me Gretchen Whitmer in there. Get me Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania in there. Get me Ro Khanna, who's a progressive. And let's go. Let's have debates right now. And by the way, can Kamala run? Of course she can run. She should run too. And then let's see who wins.
Cenk Uyger is here. He's, of course, the host of the founder. You're not just the host. You created a movement. Justice is Coming is the book, how progressives are going to take over the country, and America is going to love it. I want to get to that in a second. Kevin Powell is here as well. You know, as you're talking, I am going to say something that I believe with every fiber of my being. I don't think Trump's going to be around to run. So I don't think he's going to be a factor. Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears, but I don't see how that's going to happen, though.
Okay, because unfortunately, because of our laws, he can still run and win and be in jail and govern from jail. It's so weird. Why don't we change that, lawyer?
Yeah, he'll be under house arrest. The White House, unfortunately, is where he's right now currently trending towards, and I don't want him under White House arrest.
Yeah, and I don't think Melania's coming back. She's done.
Jake, I want to bring it back to 2020 because the thing that was said I want to bring it back to 2020. I want to think about. Let's just put it out there very clearly. Donald Trump is an older white American male, heterosexual male, and it was felt by a lot of people, including the black community, black voters. You know, on the heels of what happened with Obama and the backlash against Obama, the only person who could actually defeat Trump in 2020 was an older white male, Joe Biden. Are you saying to me, in 20, you threw some names out there? Can someone from New York or California, you said Newsom, but California, I love California, but California is not the middle of the country or the South. You know what I mean? These swing states we're talking about. You know, a woman, you know, governor of Michigan, are we even ready, given how we treated Hillary Clinton in 2016 for that? So that's why I keep asking the question, who is the viable candidate if hypothetically they did step down? Because if they're not in the class, the group that Trump belongs to, can we actually defeat him?
Yeah. So this might be controversial too, but I honestly think that at this point, race and gender are not anywhere near as big a deal as people think they are. So Barack Obama, after he won, and now this is when they're at their peak, is right after they win, they're about to take office. Granted, having said that, you know what his popularity was at that time? A stunning 83%. 83% of Americans. Now, if they didn't want a black president at all and they were going to disqualify people based on race, gender, et cetera, he wouldn't have been at 83%. What they were voting for was change. They want the substance. They want change, right? And unfortunately, Obama dropped after that because he didn't give them that much change. So, look, Biden he did some things that were positive. So I'm not trying to say he didn't do anything. He did plenty of things, and it was more than a lot of other Democratic presidents. But a lot of things he said were the bare minimum he didn't deliver on. For example, voting rights. Guys, they said it was the bare minimum. They said they were definitely going to deliver it, and they didn't. So it doesn't give me I don't care if it's a white guy.
Executive order? I mean, he doesn't have the House and the Senate. Like, he doesn't have...
So I can get into how he could have done that in a second.
Okay.
But just to finish the thought, Karen, at this point, even if it's a white guy, even if he's from California or New York or Hawaii or Rhode Island, as long as he has the right policies or she has the right policies, people are going to flock to them. But they've got to make them believe, and this is a challenge for the Democrats, that they're actually going to do it. Because the Democrats say it and they don't deliver so often that we have jaded our own voters and they don't show up. I mean, Trump's number one advantage is his voters show up.
Always.
They show up. They show up in astounding numbers.
Yeah.
Unprecedented numbers. The reason we don't have that kind of energy is because we don't deliver. So, Karen, to your question on voting rights, how would I have done it? if I was an ally of mine and I was advising them, I said, this is the easiest thing in the world. Get rid of the filibuster. And they would have said, oh, no, you can't do that. Wait a minute. Do you know that they actually made an exception for the filibuster during Biden's term?
Yeah.
It was for raising the debt ceiling. Why? Because raising the debt ceiling, if they hadn't done it, would have crashed the stock market. So you just told me and all the voters that the stock market is more important than black voters. You just said it.
And, Karen, to Cenk's point, because you mentioned Johnson earlier, the last time we really had a Democratic president that delivered was probably Lyndon Johnson in a very significant way.
But he was forced into it by Adam Clayton Powell inside the House.
That's hardball politics.
Yeah.
No, hold on, because everything you're saying, like, I can't argue with you. But we all live in this space together, right? And I think we all pretty much want the same things, right? Pretty much, there's not too much. So why are we so divided? Because we are very divided as a nation. And to Kevin's point, while race and gender aren't high on the list, you brought up Obama, it's high on the list when there's so much tension right now, so much toxicity in the country. It's at the forefront. Right.
Yeah. So I have a theory that I explain in the book, and let me run it by you guys, see what you think. Okay.
All right.
So corporate media is mainstream media, what we normally think of CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, and right-wing media like Fox News. Okay. And they want us to fight on cultural war issues. That is why we're nonstop talking about the dress of the M&M folks. We're talking about trans girls in high school sports. There's like 7 of them. God bless them. I love them. But there's 7 of them in the whole country. Why are we talking about such minuscule issues? Because they want to divide us. But whenever it's an economic issue, all of a sudden, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News all agree. Canceling student debt. They all come out and say, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Higher minimum wage. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. On our show on Young Turks, we show MSNBC clip after MSNBC clip where they are against the Democratic position when it's economic issues. So corporate media serves corporate politicians and corporate advertisers. And so it's not an accident that we're divided. They're trying to divide us. When you go to economic issues, chapter 1 of my book proves that 2/3 of the country is progressive, okay? You go to those issues, and everybody agrees. The Republicans agree. I'll give you one example. Paid family leave. Polls at 84%, okay? Among Republicans, it polls at 74%. 3/4 of Republicans want paid family leave. Yet, Biden put it in a bill for a second and then took it out right away when Manchin objected. And what did corporate media do? In unison, they said, well, it's not the moderate position. The moderate position is Joe Manchin's. Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are moderates, and they say that the people of West Virginia and Arizona don't want it. Who cares what they say? The polling in West Virginia and Arizona is, yes, give us paid family leave. So they take a radical corporatist like Joe Manchin, and they call him a moderate, and then they say that their position is the objective one. You see that trick? That's 2 tricks for the price of 1. And what I went on right-wing shows, and I asked their audience, hey, do you want paid family leave? And we talked it through. Every show I've been on, 3/4, they do a poll, 3/4 of the audience, right-wing audience says, yeah, give me paid family leave.
Who doesn't? And who? Anyway, 866-801-8255. You're listening to the Karen Hunter Show in case you needed to.
I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one you love sings